I'm Stefan Baumann. I would like to invite you on a special journey. A journey to discover the splendor, encounter the grandeur, and feel the excitement of painting outdoors. Make this year the year to finally take your art to the next level. Come along with me as we experience the thrill of painting outdoors. If you have painted on location before, or this will be your first time, you will find the answers in this 3-day workshop. It's a 3-day workshop that will change your art forever. In one of America's most stunning locations, Mount Shasta. Everything you need to know is on our website at www.stefanbaumann.com, or just give me a call at 415-606-9074 and register for the workshop today.
Now we're going to get to our guest, Stefan Baumann. He's all set up. He's ready to paint. He's going to teach you. But Stefan, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
It's a very deep, very personal question. I hope you don't mind me getting into your dirty laundry here. So what has your life been like being I know you're a modest guy, but becoming famous? You know, you've been on PBS stations nationally for how many years now? 20 years?
20 years, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you like walk down the street?
I've been on PBS and, it's been really wonderful. But YouTube has really been my biggest success. And I have lots of people who, I really kind of have to watch out where I go. Part of which is that I'm so recognizable because of how I dress. A lot of people will ask, well, why do you dress like that? I dress like this ever since I was in high school. So it's just part of who I am. But it does really stop traffic at Walmart, and people look at you and they go, there's somebody on TV that looks like you. And they go, it's you. Yeah, so it's weird. You got to watch out sometimes when you're, at a stop sign, you're picking your nose. Who's going to be looking over at you?
The point is that even famous people shop in Walmart.
I know. Well, up here where I live in Mount Shasta, we don't have a lot of choice. So.
You don't have a lot of options.
You don't have a lot of options too. But
painted there. I want to come and paint on your ranch or take one of your workshops. That'd be fun.
Oh, you should.
So why don't you get into your waterfall painting, and I'll just shut up and get out of the way.
Okay.
Somebody said on a broadcast the other day, tell the old guy with white hair to shut up.
Well, anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to try to simplify this. Primarily, I'm going to start off as if I was sitting out on location, which is difficult because it's raining. I actually wanted to do this outdoors, but I picked a scene from one of my television shows. And the way that I kind of start these things is that I start with a grisaille. So a grisaille is a thin, transparent layer of paint that basically...
You got a board, I assume, with canvas?
Oh, yes. Well, no, it's not. Actually, just real quick, because I know a lot of you are beginning painting and you want to save some bucks. Here's a handed tip. I don't use canvases anymore because the texture... Remember back in the day when we used to have texture... when we used to have records and you would hear that in the background, and then we went to DVDs or CDs. Well, I find that small canvases up to about 18 by 24, 24 by 30 should be painted on boards because all of that texture is like that noise that you used to get in the back of records. So you want to paint on a very smooth surface. You can go down and get some MDF boards, whole sheet of it for like $15. Have the guy cut it up into the piece sizes that you want. Take a can of Rust-Oleum auto primer, and you want to spray the auto primer on top of that really thick. Let it sit for an hour or so and paint on it, and it's one of the best surfaces you can paint on. Each panel will cost you 98 cents. So, a nice way of saving money.
I went to Home Depot and I bought 2 4x8 sheets, and I said, I need you to cut them into this size. And they really looked at me like, what?
Yeah, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So anyway, so I'm going to very quickly, I've got a kind of a little bit of a pencil sketch in here, and it's going to seem a little crazy right now. But as soon as I get going, this is where the fall is. This is Yellowstone Falls. One of my.
Reference photo?
I actually don't. I'm actually kind of working off of my memory from being there on location. So I'm going to go in and just start very quickly getting in the sky. And as soon as I kind of get the waterfall in, you'll have an idea of what we're doing. I usually lay in a very thin coat of paint when I'm out there. Now, I'm going to be going through...
How are you thinning your paint?
I'm using just a little bit of linseed oil and turpentine.
Additional turpentine?
Yeah, if you were here, you'd be getting high too. And so as I've read, it's triple rectified.
That's the only way I'd be getting high.
I know. Well, we are in Siskiyou, the green triangle. So, but anyway, so we go. I'm just going to very quickly go this in. Try to get most of the painting kind of in so that you have an idea of where we're going. I know some of you, when you go out on location, we always choose the big grand vista, and I don't want to disappoint, but literally when you go outdoors to do painting, it's best to work on intimate corners.
You would love some of the waterfalls we have in the Adirondacks.
Every year I want to do that with you guys. Maybe this is the year. I mean, it's amazing. I can't wait. I mean, seriously, I am so looking forward to Denver. I have been wanting, out of all the national parks, and I'm kind of like the national park guy, I've never been to Etsy's park, so.
Oh, yeah, well, you're going to paint exactly where Bierstadt painted.
I know. I'm really excited because he's my hero. So right now I'm laying in distant valleys. I'm going to go over some of my keys. A lot of these keys you can get on my Patreon station. They're also on YouTube if you look me up. There are 12 keys to painting that I think are really important for students. So while I'm doing this very quickly, it's like having a bunch of plates spinning in the air and I'm trying to keep them all spin. So the first thing you want to do when you have a painting is to have a concept. A concept is the idea, and a lot of artists will go way too quickly out on location. They just start painting without taking a break and really realizing it. If you stop for a second and you think about the subject matter for just a second, it will program in your mind. And when you have that, you got to keep it, because when you're painting outdoors, the light's going to be changing every 7 minutes. And if you don't have that concept...
Do you do a sketch?
No. There's no time for sketching. We got to paint. And so the first 10 minutes would be this part of the painting is to actually put in the concept, what it is. And you can see already on this, you can always see where the waterfall is. Then we're going to go into painting the walls that the cliffs are on. And I just go in, and I call this taking footnotes. And the first thing I do is I start off getting the concept in, and part of the concept is developing a focal point. Now, all this stuff I teach in my Patreon class and YouTube and my new book that I have coming out. And the whole thing is that you've got to come up with a concept. Number 2 key, and you should be writing these down because everybody wants to know what they are. Now, such a focal point is really important because that's the thing people are going to be looking at. So if I tell you right now, look around the room, now look at your light switch. Once I tell you to look at your light switch, all of a sudden everything else in the room goes away. Biggest mistake with painters up front. Biggest mistake. If you don't have a thing for a person to look at, they'll walk on, because that's not how we see things. The brain wants to know what it is that we're looking at. So the central focal...
want to be inside your brain.
I know.
Let me just clarify something, because I think you said something that might confuse somebody who doesn't know the answer to this. You said central focal point, but you don't. When you say central focal point, you don't mean it's in the center.
Actually, yes, I do sort of. Okay. So we're getting into other parts of the keys, but to talk about that is that if I tell you now to look at a light switch, where is it in relationship to your head? It's in the center of what you're looking at. You're now looking at that. That's what you're looking at. When you're doing a painting, you want to recreate how people see things. If I came up here to Yellowstone Falls, I wouldn't be looking at it like this. I'd be looking at it like this in the center, right there. I'd be centering that. Now my mom gave me a camera when I was little, and she said, now you have that little X in the middle, little crosshairs. Shove that crosshairs to the left or to the right. But she didn't say move it all the way over so that the object's on the side. Furthermore, the central focal point is always in the point of view. Mostly in a scene like this, it is where the horizon line is, because our horizon line is where our eyes are. And that's going to be another thing. And you're getting ahead of me right now. So anyway, so the central focal point, the next thing is composition. How this is going to be composed. And when we're doing a composition, I don't believe in compositions where it's like an L shape and an M shape and a V shape. No. I can take the worst composition, and through my element of light, I can make a great composition. Primarily where I locate the focal point, plus where I lead the viewer through the painting. So let me get a little further on this. Okay, so I'm taking cobalt blue, and if you notice, this is going to be my focal point. Now, we don't paint things, we paint effects. So this is the effect of light. So ultimately, the effect of light is what my composition is going to be based around. Okay, so let me go in and get base color for a waterfall. Normally, a painting like this on location usually takes about 2 hours. But in the first 10 minutes, you want to be able to really hone down what the painting's about.
You also are going to have, that light's going to move in an hour, so you've got to kind of stabilize where you're going to be.
That's why I call those footnotes. So right now we're going in. So the first 10 minutes you study the painting and you come up with your idea. That's your concept. Number 2, you determine what the painting's about, and that's part of the composition part of it, and the effect of light, which will be the central focal point. And it's called a central focal point because it is the thing that the viewer wants, what's it about. If you'll notice all the old masters' paintings, they all had a point where the light was brightest and lightest. And so that's part of my teaching when people coach with me. That's the aha thing that people get.
That you're really good at is creating drama. At my Adirondack event, my rule is no drama, except in your paintings. You are the king of drama in paintings.
Oh, I love drama. I love drama in my life too. So that's why I like doing all these different unusual things.
I don't want to be inside your head.
No, actually, it's pretty common there. I kind of throw it out a lot, but it's, yeah, I'm pretty sane. So this is, again, part of the composition. Da-da-da-da. I'm getting these in fairly quickly. I know Eric said, make it simple so people can watch. And I know simplicity isn't my strong suit, but knowledge is. And so I make sure that you guys are going to learn something from this, and you want to listen to this over and over again, because these are the most important aspects of painting. So number 3 is composition. Number 4 is temperature. We'll get to that a little bit later, but the temperature is one of those things that when I wrote my book, it's the foundation of my book, there's a concept of temperature that really changes everything. When I tell students that when you come to my workshop for 3 days, it will change the way you paint forever. So it's a game changer. And people leave my workshops going, that was a big claim. A lot of artists say they do it. They go, yeah, I got it. So that's one of the key things that's going to be in my book. Temperatures. The next thing are edges, and we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but I want to make sure, since we have such a short period of time, that we get all of this in.
Can I point something out to the people who are confused right now?
Yes.
The wall that you're painting right now, the dark wall, is actually the purple or pink wall in the background is the same color. It's just the distance and the haze from the water is making the color get muted and changed a little bit, right?
Absolutely. Well, this is Yellowstone.
Your darker color comes far forward.
Yeah, so with value. And you're jumping ahead of me because that's actually one of our things. But we're jumping right ahead here, and you'll have to tell me.
That's just who I am.
Oh, hey, listen, I'm glad that you're participating. I mean, if it wasn't for you, I don't think plein air painting would even be a thing. So, I love you, Eric. We go back a lot of years.
Yeah, I remember when we first met, we were in San Francisco, we had coffee.
Yeah, no, it wasn't coffee, it was in film where we were having drinks. And you were saying, should I
I don't
name...
drink anymore.
You said, should I name my magazine Outdoor Painting or Plein Air? And I was like, I don't know. It's like, you did the right choice though. You changed the world. That's one of my mottos. Don't go into your studio unless you're going to change the world. So anyway, so these are all going to be foregrounds. So as things get further away from you, they get lighter in value. Edges are important when we come up to the thing, but I want to go through. So number 7 is edges, and number 8 is transition. So transition is between highlight and shadow. When we're actually trying to create shadow, in shadow there's no color. Shadow is actually a default color, and highlights are actually...
Can you repeat that because you were not facing the mic? Did you say in shadow there's no color?
There's no color in shadow. Shadow falls into a default color. That's part of what you're going to start learning about when you start reading my book on painting outdoors. Is that this?
It's not available yet.
It's not available. It's going to be available shortly. And
Have you figured out who's going to do the foreword to your book yet?
I just asked you, and you said yes. So it's going to be Eric Rhoads is going to do the foreword. So yeah, thank you, Eric. That's quite a gift. Thank you. From you, that was, I almost just broke down in tears. But
I'd like to see that. So our whole goal, everybody, is to help everybody.
Yeah.
If we just focus on love, whatever somebody needs, give it to them.
Well,
Don't need anything in return.
I tell you, I've been so impressed with you over the years. And seriously, when you started doing this everyday thing, I thought, Eric's a busy guy. It's not gonna be pretty. And oh my God, it's not pretty. But yeah, I've noticed you gotten grayer over the last year. But you're amazing, dude. You're a rock star. You're a rock stars of rock stars because you keep a schedule. You deal with all of us artists, and we're flakes. And so, I know how difficult that is. But yeah.
I have really good people around me.
Yeah, yes, and that's the beautiful thing about the Plein Air Convention, is that everybody is like a family. Everybody is friendly. Every time you approach one of your employees at the convention, it's as if it's an old friend. Your staff is just amazing. I'd go to the Plein Air Convention just to be around your people. And so, yeah. And
You're such a suck-up.
no, it's not true. I've never really sucked up to you, Eric.
Allie's been with me for, I think 11 years now.
Yeah.
Tom's been with me for 31.
Yeah, I'm
just getting started, baby. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do with my life.
Well, maybe you might think about becoming an artist when you grow up.
I don't think I think I'm better suited helping other artists.
I don't know. I see your paintings once in a while, and I wouldn't mind coaching you once in a while on a few things. Actually, if you got this whole temperature thing down, it will change so much of what you're painting, and you'd enjoy it. You're a rock star now with painting too, but things would make a lot of difference if...
You're such a tease.
I am not a tease.
I have to give you a hard time because that's, we have a lot of friendship.
I know. People are like going, get the old guy to be... So here I'm doing the edges. You got to get back to work here, Eric. You got me busy working fast. Number 9 is drawing. So if you're going to be a painter, you have to learn how to draw. Now, there are a lot of artists out there that project things. When you're at the Grand Canyon, it's really hard to project. And I always hear these excuses, yeah, I use this and I use that. Projectors are always going to distort your image, period.
It's a crutch.
Huh?
It's a crutch.
Yeah, it's a crutch. And painting is basically drawing with paint. So it's part of painting. So you have to learn how to draw. And the best book you can get is Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. And do it like a textbook. Don't just read through it. And I have my students, they do it and then they do all the homework 2 and 3 times over in a week. But I tell you something, for those of you that are coming to the Plein Air Convention, you want to warm up, one thing that I have my students do is plein air indoors. So, the whole idea behind painting plein air is that it's painting light on objects, because we don't paint things, we paint effects. And when we go outdoors, but right now, we got 6 feet of snow outside. So I have my students go, well, it's too cold to go outdoors. You can do plein air painting indoors. Paint an unmade bed with light coming in, or the light coming into your kitchen. If you want to warm up for the Plein Air Convention, if you're coming, do indoor plein air painting. It doesn't mean that it has to be outside, it could be inside.
So what would you say to somebody, Stefan? I have had people, and I have an answer, but I'd like to hear your answer. I have people will say, I'm not good enough to go to the Plein Air Convention, or I don't want to paint in front of other people because I'm a little embarrassed. What would you say to them?
Well, everybody has to start somewhere, and every artist that's out there started somewhere. When I go to the Plein Air Convention, I don't set up with the other artists and go paint and have, here, look at me. I'm out there with everybody. And if you see me out there, grab a hold of me, drag me over. If you've got a problem, that's a good place to start. You've got artists that are walking around helping you, and you want to expose yourself. And one thing that I tell my students when they come into my classes, most of my students are brand newbies that start coaching with me. They want to start off with really strong. And I go, just paint something, let me see, because eventually you're going to reveal yourself. And you do have to go through a thing. Plein air painting is very difficult. It's like picking up a trumpet or a piano. There is a learning curve, but if you don't start now, if you don't come to the convention, if you don't know what it's like, you can't make any decisions of whether or not it's for you or not, because it's not for everybody. But
who's it not for?
Who's it not for? People who would rather play golf, or people who like sitting indoors. I'm not going to reveal it, but I got a video on this. But you can paint from photographs and be in a nice warm studio, and that's perfectly fine.
So I had, I've told this before, but I've never told you. Do you remember? Were you at the first Plein Air Convention?
No, I was second one.
I had Russian master Nikolai Dubovik, who's an instructor at the Serkov Institute in Moscow, and he's a very famous painter there. And so I had him over to my place one summer, and he walked into my studio, and he said, that one, that one, that one, and that one. He pointed at 4 different paintings. And I said, what? He said, you did those in plein air. The others were all done from photographs. And he was exactly right. I'm like, how did you know this? He said, well, once you paint in plein air, you know it.
You do know it. And, I know that with my students. Every once in a while they come in and they go, oh, look what I did plein air. And I go, no, you didn't. And they go, how did you tell? Well, your contrasts are too big. If you do it, you know it. And when my students go out and paint plein air, especially after a weekend in Vegas like we just did, they're like, I can't paint from photographs anymore. So it's crazy.
No, that's the thing. I can't paint from photos anymore. I don't even want to. I'll paint from studies I've done, and then I can kind of put more depth. But
yeah, so
this is good so far. You're earning my respect for the first time ever.
Oh, we won't even go there, Eric. We won't even go there. I know. So, again, imagine if you're sitting out here on location at Yellowstone Falls. This scene is actually from my television show. If you go on YouTube, put Stefan Baumann Yellowstone Falls PBS demo. I'm actually there painting. When we filmed the PBS show, I only had 4 hours to do the full painting. That's all the national parks would give us a permit for. And while we were there, we had people come down, ask questions. The cameraman had to change positions all the time. They didn't close down the parks for our demos, so it was I had to do it, and I had to finish it mostly even before the park rangers would come up, because they would always give us a hassle too. But we all had permits and stuff, but they still...
National parks now don't allow groups of more than 15 people to paint together.
Yeah, I believe it.
And we had to get a special permit. We actually had to go to Washington, D.C. to get a permit for the Plein Air Convention to paint in Rocky Mountain National Park at the Denver Convention.
But see, Eric, you didn't come to me because I got special connections there. But next time.
I didn't even think of that, but I will next time.
Okay. So anyway, so this is going to be clouds that kind of drift over the mountain. We're going to go transition drawing. And then another thing you have to know is perspective. Now, one of the things that you get when you're outdoors painting on location is that you get a different perspective on things, and things look really three-dimensional. So you have aerial perspective, as things get further away from you, they get lighter. And then you have actual linear perspective where buildings and everything come to a point. Again, in Drawing the Right Side of the Brain, if you read that book, it will explain some of that. And one of my keys for drawing and perspective is using a proportional divider. So this is a proportional divider here. And this is something you can get them for like $12 on Amazon. This will teach you how to draw. People think it's somewhat of a crutch, but it's not. It's an amazing...
How do you use it? Can you show us how you use it?
Well, the way that you'd use it is that if you're outdoors painting, you would use this little side here. Let's see, here. And then you would take the picture, you would blow it up here. So you would, let's see if I had a...
So in other words, you take the small side, which is the view, and then the big side to increase the size on your painting.
Yeah, so let's just say this is one of the photos I have laying around that I'm kind of pulling from. And so we go like from here to there. And then you go from here to there, and it gives you since this is not the one I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. But this is where you can get your drawing. Now, what people don't realize is that, drawing is nothing more the proportions between things. So it's not so much that drawing my head, everything's backwards. Drawing my head here and trying to draw the ears is actually drawing this negative space here. Okay, so I can't go backwards on here. But anyway, so to draw the negative space over there, that's and when you get used to those shapes and you start seeing those, instead of drawing my chin, you would draw the shape underneath, where my neck is, or the angle of the light. When you get that, you chunk it in small pieces like that. You can learn how to just put an edge on it. So the proportion divider gets you to draw really much quicker.
You just say, I'm working on a painting right now, and I've been struggling with it, and I have one of those, but I'm not using it, so I'm going to use it.
I use it. I've been using it for years. I got a video in my thing on the best kept secret for artists, the proportion divider. It is amazing. And not only that, if you have problems with drawing, it will teach you how to draw. I use it now just to confirm, because once in a while you do an edge and you think, oh, is that right? Especially if you're doing horses and things, and you can just take the proportion divider and nail it. And you could hold it up on location and actually bring objects into your painting. And you'll see how quickly your drawing abilities will get better from that. Okay, so another thing, last time we talked together, we talked about horizon line. And very few artists actually address the horizon line. And it's like the most important thing, your eye relationship to the subject. It's important for the perspective. It's important for getting your central focal point. It's important to know that. I ask artists when they're doing something, where is your horizon line? And that has everything to do with not only just your perspective, but just your place as you're looking at things, where you're putting your painting at. If we get that we're looking straight at something and that's our horizon line, then we know that everything that's below the horizon line has to be included. And a lot of artists, what they do is they move the painting, or they'll say, oh, well, we'll break it up into thirds. We have a third foreground, middle ground, background. And they'll take all of this and move it down here, and they'll have not enough space for the sense of place up in front. And there's no feeling that you're actually there. So understanding how to use a horizon line, and I know these are just getting thrown at you, but there's videos that I have on that on YouTube. And then number 12, which is the last one, is memorization. Now, you know, right now I'm using a lot of my memory skills to put this painting together, and it's the most important thing to work on. Now, what a lot of people go, well, I can't really remember things, but just get that you can't see the scene and paint it at the same time. You actually have to see it, memorize it, and put it on. And it's that short distance that you have to get better and better and better at. Memory is one of those things that if you read Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, everything that you've ever remembered is right there behind you. You know, it's in your right side of the brain. And if you saw a car accident, you won't be able to remember even the license plates, but they can actually go into your brain and they can pull up your memory. And you can actually recall the license plates even if you weren't paying attention to things. So we have that ability, but we have to practice it. So this is lemon yellow and cobalt blue. We're going to put in the waterfall here, top of the waterfall. So we're going to use the almighty fan brush. This brush is the most overused brush in the entire world. I love it. The secret behind using a fan brush is that you never use it like that. You never paint it like a flat because it looks like eyelashes. You always want to take it to the side, one side or the other side. And you used to watch Bob Ross and William Alexander. They would always do fan brush stuff. I find it just a good way to cover canvas really quickly. And you can just kind of push that out. Look at how wonderful you can kind of get some trees in there just by actually pushing the brush outwards. It's a wonderful tool. And you can simplify all of this foreground stuff. If you look at the old masters' paintings, you'll notice that in the original painting, that grisaille or that color that I laid in here is actually the foundation for all the rocks and everything. And since the default color of shadow is a brown blue color, we can kind of leave all that alone and we can go in and just bring in even more shadow. And you can start seeing the elements of the rocks. Now, plein air painting is difficult. And even though I was teaching plein air painting, it took me 10 years of teaching plein air painting till I finally nailed, you know, what we call a hole-in-one. So Eric likes to use golf scenarios with painting, but you know, you could go out and you'll go and you'll paint and you'll paint and you'll paint. But the thing is, at some point, you get really frustrated because as you start getting a little bit better, your sights go higher. And a golfer, even though their game is getting better and better, they keep going for the hole-in-one. They go, yeah, but it wasn't a hole-in-one. It wasn't a hole-in-one. And so at some point, your first plein air painting is going to be amazing, especially if you come to the convention and you find me and you say, how do I start this thing? You'll be amazed. But after that, you're going to start looking at everybody else's paintings. You're going to go, I want to paint like her. I want to paint like her. So you keep rising the bar, and it's really frustrating. And then there comes a point where your ability to paint on location and your concept of where you want to be come together. And that took 10 years after my first plein air painting. And that's what you strive for.
You had a lot of fun in the meantime.
Oh God, yeah, and you know, I was teaching it, and the thing is, you know, the people who I meet along the way, I mean, you know, I've been to almost every national park except Rocky Mountain National Park, and it's all because of plein air painting. I have met the most incredible people, great friends. The convention is just it's just a love fest of people and with the same interest. Plein air painters work at a different level. Well, I shouldn't say that. All artists work at a different level. And when you have that commonness and you're traveling, oh my God, it's just, life just doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The one thing about the convention is it's kind of like a sampler box of chocolates. You know, people have gone there not knowing who they want to study with, and they'll watch an artist on one of the 5 stages, and they'll go, oh, Stefan, I got to study with Stefan, you know, and then and then they'll study with you, or they'll go to your workshops. And so that way, because I hear stories all the time, somebody went to a workshop, they ended up not liking it because they hadn't had a chance to sample the artist.
Well, I got to say one thing though. If you see me, any of you see me at the Plein Air convention, and you can't miss me because I'll be the one dressed a little different. But if you see me, come up and hang out with me and everyone else. We'll do a mini convention for newbies who are kind of intimidated by all this, and we'll just hold our little court, and as things start to get more comfortable, you can go back out amongst people. I mean, so, you know, my first Plein Air convention, it was a little intimidating but you find just one person, one friend, and pretty soon it snowballs, and then it's like going back to high school. Everybody just knows it.
I don't know if you knew this, but we do an orientation for newbies, and we actually put them together in groups. And so, if you want to be in a group, raise your hand, and then we'll put groups of 6 or 8 people together so they can go to lunch together, hang out together. And we actually had one couple met in one of those groups and ended up getting married.
So was that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
You'd have to ask them.
I'd have to ask them if they're still married. Actually, the secret to happiness when you're a painter is to find somebody else that's painting too, because you go off and do the same thing together. And I noticed there's a lot of single people at the convention. Just a heads up. But anyway, it's not a dating place. We paint, right? We're serious.
It's starting to sound like I paid you to shill the convention. You know?
No. I just look forward to it every year. It's a marvelous thing. And like I said, if you see me, you know, during the get-togethers and stuff, and you feel like, oh, I don't have any friends, come on over. I will introduce you to some of my students. A lot of my students are going this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to be excited.
Let's say about 7-8 minutes left. What are you going to be able to accomplish in that 7 to 8 minutes, and what are you not going to be able to get done?
What I'm not going to be able to get done is get completely done with it, but I'm going to put in some more. A lot of this stuff is just, you know, what I say, footnotes along the way. Not every plein air painting is done on location, complete. The whole idea is that you want to have something that is completed. And when I said I did my hole-in-one, that was a painting that I did completely outdoors, never touched it again. And that's kind of the goal. One of the secrets that artists have is, amongst ourselves, is that if we actually paint something on location, we'll actually scratch our name on it. Okay? That can only be done when the painting's wet. And it kind of tells the other artist, yeah, I did this from beginning to end. But don't think that, you know, you're going to go out there and get a finished piece. You're basically...
Stick bugs in my wet paint so everybody knows I was outdoors.
Are you saying...
We have a lot of them in the Adirondacks.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do that this year. Now...
Well, you know, it's sold out, but I'll get you in.
I think I know somebody that might get me in, yeah. So I'd appreciate that, Eric. You know, and I'm always up for helping people. So like I said, if you see me at the convention, kind of get that I'm there for you guys, and, you know, run towards me. Don't walk, you know, kind of stick around me. There'll be a lot of you coming together at least one place, and I'll try to make it really comfortable. And you can follow me around until you feel comfortable and maybe meet somebody else that's in my group. I'd like to see some of your paintings. I have some things on marketing that if you're planning on going to the Plein Air convention, watch my section on marketing so that you have some postcards that you can hand out to people instead of business cards. Business cards are kind of a waste. You want to kind of have something nice that's large so that people can take home. I'm going to be giving away 2 videotapes to everybody who goes to the convention too. There's so much in that convention, and every year I'm just always amazed that you just keep on getting more and more and more to it. It just keeps growing. And you don't have to, you know, the PBS thing was really awesome when I did PBS. It was the only game in town. We were the first artists. I mean, when we started the PBS show, we were doing everything in beta. And, this new technology wasn't even out there. So we kind of started off, and we were just in the wake of Ken Burns's special on the national park. So it was a really awesome thing. But I tell you, YouTube has taken off to such a thing. And, I've been doing YouTube. I have almost 300 YouTube videos, which is a lot for a single artist. I know for you, you just produce them every day, but but I still, hey, I still beat you on the podcast. I got number 11, you got like 22, so I was pretty amazed at that. There you go. I'm putting in some mist. Mists are always a great thing to put in when you're short of time, which is what we're doing right now. So I went through the 12 keys. Is there anybody that's got a last minute question out there that they may want as I start?
Why don't you do this? Why don't you reiterate the 12 keys? And that way, because there's confusion, it looks like concept, central focus point, composition, temperature, brush strokes and values, edges and transitions, drawing, perspective, horizon line, and memorization. Did we get it?
You got it.
All right,
that's
thanks
it.
to Susan Hunter, guys. That's for doing that. Thank you, Susan. She's always on it.
Yeah, just one of your awesome staff.
The official documentarian of Art School Live.
Yeah, the only difference between you and me is that you're successful and you have a great team. I'm a one-man band. I don't have anybody that reads any of my comments or anything. I've got to figure it out myself.
I'd be doing what you're doing, except all your time goes to making your own clothes.
Oh, well, there you go. I'll have to hook you up.
Design all your own clothes, don't you?
I do, yeah. I have a tailor that for the longest time lived in Medford, Oregon, and now he lives in Texas. So who knows? I might be coming to visit you to get some clothing made. So. So anyway, how much time do we have? We don't want to go over.
You got 5 minutes.
Okay, great. So let me just kind of go over the element of light. So when we are trying to do a painting, we've kind of laid it all in. This I would put in another layer. When you're working on these boards, they are kind of slippery, so they do show a little bit of the brush strokes. Now, I am approached by a lot of artists and they say, that I don't like painting on those boards right off because of all the brush work that we have. And then I have artists that come to me and they go, oh, I wish I could paint loose and I wish I had more brush strokes. Well, a lot of people don't realize that the brush strokes are actually part of the preliminary painting. So a lot of this brush stroke that we actually see in here is actually what artists sometimes just leave. They're the beginning inspirations. You start off a painting with a lot of confidence and you can put a lot of real strong brush strokes at the beginning of your painting. As you start working.
The beauty about a board like that, Stefan, maybe you can show this, is you could take, when you've got a smooth board like that you're painting on, if you wanted to create a highlight, you could just take something and pull that highlight out with a piece of paper towel.
Well, and oil prime canvases do this too. But the problem with oil prime canvases is that they're so expensive. They're almost to the point where you've got to be selling your work for a lot of money. But this, and I'm using asphaltum, and when you wipe it off like that, see, we can put in the highlights on this rock like this. And there's nothing that will give you a more beautiful sense of light. Talk about footnotes. And when you're doing light, you want to make sure that you have the light coming diagonally perpendicular to the angle of the sun. So if we have light coming in here, only the angles here would get the light, not the vertical parts. So the angles are really important in how they absorb light. And in my book, I mentioned that. I know it's self-promotion.
Buy your book, so quit hyping it.
I gotta hype it.
Yeah, well, there's no reason to. They're going to buy it as soon as you. They're like, I want to buy it now.
I know, but impatient. So impatient girls often miss dessert, but I haven't discussed really the aha thing. I'm surprised you haven't asked about it because I thought for sure you were going to go, well, what is it?
I just assumed you didn't want to say it. If you want to say it, go for it.
Oh, no. I gotta leave a cliffhanger, otherwise I won't get invited again. So next time I come, we'll talk about it. but it will change the way you paint forever. So it's an eye-opener. It's a thing that a lot of artists, when they start with me, it's a thing that really changes their artwork instantly.
All right. Well, you've done a fabulous job here today, Stefan.
So, well, it is a little more complicated, and we did a little bit more talking than I wanted to, but I know you have to get on with your days. I really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this, and please, if you go to my website, stefanbaumann.com, there is a free book there available that you can download. You can see some of my workshops. You'll be in queue for when the book comes out, and see me in Denver. That's an invitation that I put out there. It's like if you're intimidated about going, I'll be there. I'll be there every day for you to help you. You can hold on to my leather coattails and follow me along and talk to me and I'll get you going outdoors. We might go outdoors as a group if you're a beginner, and I will be there to help you so that you're successful at this convention.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much. You're a very generous person.
Thank you. So are you.
All right, Stefan Baumann, applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Stefan, we'll see you at the convention.
See you there.
I'm Stefan Baumann, and thank you for watching. I just wanted to jump in here real quick and remind you that if you're interested in taking a workshop, please go to my website at www.stefanbaumann.com. And there you can get information about spring and fall workshops, both here in Mount Shasta and in Las Vegas. So if you wish to attend one, I highly recommend it. And if you're interested in coaching, nothing will teach you how to get your artwork to the next level till you have a coach. It's not expensive. In fact, it's a lot cheaper than trying to guess at your paintings for years and years, wasting all that canvas, when you can do in a couple months that you can learn in years and years. I wish I had a coach when I was first starting. It took me 30 years to teach things that I teach to my students one-on-one coaching in just a couple of weeks. So it really makes a difference. You don't know what you don't know. And I highly recommend, please just give me a call at 415-606-9074. It will change your life for sure. I guarantee it. So give me a call at 415-606-9074, whether or not you want a workshop, which you could get more information on my website, or if you just want to call me and say, hey, let me try getting some coaching and see if it makes a difference in my art. Believe me, I've taught enough people to know it will. So I look forward to hearing from you. Give me a call right now.